Hello and welcome to What Was I Thinking, in the first episode that has full video and audio. I apologize to everyone on YouTube and anyone who has been listening and has been asking for video. I did a podcast today with a comic named Paul Antonio, and for his podcast, which will be coming out, it's going to be called Killing It. And we were talking, and it's very small. I felt bad. Maybe I shouldn't give it away, but trust me, it's not really a secret. I struggle a lot with perfectionism, and I know you can tell by my chiseled body, and it really, that's why when I did my podcast with Johnny Rock, I called it Life in Neutral, because it really, that really does explain a lot of my problems. I don't do well when, like, for example, I hate bowling. I don't like going bowling. I never, if you want to say, hey Lee, how about we go bowling? No, thank you. And it's not because I'm antisocial, and it's not because I have an aversion to oddly colored shoes. It's because I am terrible at bowling. And one of my many flaws is that if I am not good at something, I really have a very hard time, A, pushing through that, and B, doing it. Like it was a big struggle for me in school, because if I enjoyed the subject, I'd get A's and be really into it. But then, like, when chemistry and math and stuff, like, it's no wonder I went to art school. When that stuff came up, I don't know. It's a struggle for me to push through that, not being good at it, and force myself to do it. So with the video, my professional editing software is on a laptop, and I'm having a lot of issues getting it over to the new laptop. And I have a $800 camera that I bought 2 years ago that I don't really have the space or time to hook up. And since I don't have the professional editing software, I've been basically coming up with reasons to not do it. So I am recording this on iMovie, which is taking me back way to the beginning of my video editing life, and I don't like using iMovie, but you know what? It's time I did video. So hi everybody, I just waved. I waved my left hand, which is weird. I felt like a weirdo. Hi, this is my right hand, and yes, I have big manly hands. I used to have calluses, but now they're girly and soft. I am off to a fantastic start. So welcome to What Was I Thinking with Lee Syatt, the first of now many video editions. I will slowly over the next week, maybe two, because there are like 20 episodes. I will get all of them up. The one with the doctor has video, but other than that, it will just be the audio with the lovely cover art by Mikey Klein of The Joint with Joey Diaz. He created that artwork for me, and that will be that. And then from this point on, as long as I can, we'll have video, and pushing through my anxiety and what's the word? Procrastination, and all of the main reasons why I'm in my father's spare bedroom. And it's not even, now you're like, hey, is that snacks underneath the Buddha? Yeah. My dad is he likes to call it, he says, I decorate the way I want to, and I don't have a girlfriend or a wife to tell me that it looks stupid. So he is not into Buddha. He just likes the way it looks. He does meditate. I don't know why I'm telling you any of this, and I am not cutting it out. So deal with it. I don't know. I'm looking at myself. Yeah. So yeah, let's see. I have a very fun episode for you guys today. I recorded this a couple weeks ago with a lovely gentleman who hit me up, and I'm sorry for getting my phone, but I have notes. His name is Shahan Khoshafian. So for all of my Armenian brothers and sisters out there, I think he's Armenian. God, yeah, he's Armenian. If you're not Shahan, I apologize. Shahan has a podcast himself called On with Shahan. It rhymes. And he is a very interesting man. He is an entrepreneur. He is his wife owns a cheese shop in the LA area. And the reason I have him on today, other than for his boyish good looks, is he has been very successful in the cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin world. As a Jew, I wanted to know exactly how much money he had, and no matter how much I poked and prodded and pleaded and cried, he would not tell me. But needless to say, he has enough, and I have literally just under 1/10 of one Bitcoin, not to brag, but I am very interested in in that world, and I know nothing about it, and I have foolishly bought a few cryptocurrencies. I currently have like 1,600 Doge. Again, not to brag, it's gone down $7 in value. But I don't know what I'm doing, and Shahan does, and basically gives me like a background on it and tells me like explains Bitcoin like I am the big like for example, actually might have been the first time I ever went to the comedy store. Eleanor Kerrigan, a comedian who opens for Andrew Dice Clay and hosts the Comedy Store podcast, she said, and she didn't know me, I was not even working in podcasting at the time. She looked at me, I was in the front row or like second row with my high school best friend. What up, Aaron? He came out to visit me, and she looked at me, and I still do pretty much, exclusively wear like polo style shirts. Not polo, I'm not that rich, but the collared like golf shirts. I don't play golf, but when you're big, I think it looks better if you look fancy. I don't know. But she looked at me and she was on stage and said, "Oh, you look like a giant fourth grader." So Shahan explained Bitcoin to me like I am the giant fourth grader that I appear to be. It was interesting. I think I might have said this in the episode, but just to reiterate, it's like, you know, when you're gambling, and you're like, I should have, like last night. Last night was a UFC, and my dad could vouch for me. I'll grab him if you want me to. We were watching, and my voice just kind of cracked. That's embarrassing. See my girly hands. We were watching Derek Lewis versus Blades. I forget his first name. And he might now too, because Derek Lewis it's not like Blades is bad. He's good. I think he has the most submissions in the heavyweight division. He's a badass too, frankly. I mean, he could probably kill me just by looking at me real angry. But right when the fight started, it was surprising to me. I think Derek Lewis was like a 3.5 underdog. Like he was plus 350. Which, if you don't gamble, that means like if you put down $100 and on Derek Lewis to win, and he's plus 350, that means you win $350 plus the $100 that you bet. And then conversely, Blades, I think it's Aaron. He's a badass named Blades. He was, I think, a plus 450. Oh, no, I'm sorry, a minus 450. Which means if you wanted to win $100 saying he would win on the bet, you had to bet $450. And I was just surprising because I mean, Derek Lewis fought for the title, and I don't know off the top of my head. He might have lost a couple, or he might have lost one. I'm not. Either way, he wasn't. It's not like Tyron Woodley, who's like lost a bunch in a row, and I was surprised at that line, and I knew that he was going to that Lewis was going to win. Spoiler. Because I didn't bet on him. That would have been something like, had I seen, I would have bet on, and I would have lost then. But that's so what my point was. See, when you don't do marijuana, you get back to the points quicker, more quickly, quicker. It doesn't matter. If I had bet on him, he would have lost, but I would have wanted to make that bet, and I feel it's annoying to me. I feel like I missed out. Or I'm trying to think of another example. It would be like, investing in Apple when they were in the garage, and then it explodes. So I remember hearing about Bitcoin, I think on the Rogan podcast. Forget who it was, but I remember somehow someone gave Joe and Red Band some, or they were talking about it, God, probably close to a decade ago, and I didn't buy any, and then by the time I bought some, it was before the crash, the most recent crash. I bought some, and I made like $2,000. I wish I hadn't sold when I did, but I kept a little bit, and then I bought some. I think I bought it at like $14,000 the second time after I made a little bit of money, and like literally $2,000. So trust me, I'm not. I wish I had 20. But I bought some. I think at 14,000, it hit 20, and then immediately went to 3,000 for like 2 years, and I can't. I so wish that I had bought some, A, when it was like less than $1, or B, would have been nice to have even a year ago bought some when it was at 3,000, because I'm recording this on Sunday night, and I'll show the camera. Oh, it's probably going to be reversed, so I won't show the camera, but I will get a minute to minute. It is 9:27 Eastern Standard Time on Sunday evening, February something. Let me check here. February 21st in 2021. Wow, this month is almost over. And Bitcoin at this exact moment is $57,052.30. So if I had bought, let's say an entire coin, when it was 3,000, and I can't even tell you the freaking date. Let's pull it up. Bitcoin, 1 year. So the low, on March 27th of 2020 was, I'm sorry, here we go. On March 12th, come on, God dang it. On March 12th of 2020, it's somewhere around, there we go. It was $3,858. That's a 60% drop from where it is today. I can't even, is that right? I have no idea if that's right. It was $3,000, $3,800 a year ago. Sometime March 12th, whatever, that's stupid. See, I'm getting so angry because if I'd put in, I don't even want to know the number of what it'd be worth now, but it'd be close to $20,000. So, like always, I have fantastic timing, and I completely missed the boat. But it's going high, and a lot of people think it's going to go much, much higher. And I asked Shahan a lot. I asked him about when he plans to take it out, and the history of Bitcoin, and other cryptocurrencies to keep an eye on. If you're interested in this, I believe Sam Tripoli, who is now the king of LA podcasting, I believe he has, I think it's called Cash Daddies. I believe he has a podcast dedicated to this topic. But this is essentially cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin for dummies. And thank you to Shahan for coming on. Just very quickly, I want to give a shout out to the sponsors of this episode, which is patreon.com/Lee Syatt and my Fiverr podcast consulting. I had a great one today with a wonderful gentleman in Minnesota named Chris, and I'm really enjoying doing them. So if you're interested, check out my social media accounts at Lee Syatt, LEES as in Sam, YATT, and I have a link tree, and it has a link to everything, including this podcast. So without further ado, I do want to say I'm going to give a guide in the end. This is the last thing I'll say. Thank you to everyone who had a lot of nice things to say about the dating and the doctor episodes, the past 2 episodes. I'm really enjoying doing this. And B, I have an update on the Tinder girl in the outro. And it is not what you think. Well, it might be what you think, but the reason won't be what you think. So without further ado, please help me welcome Shahan of On with Shahan, and we're going to learn all about Bitcoin. And is there anything that you don't want to talk about?
No, you could talk about anything.
Okay.
And I don't get offended about anything, so anything goes.
How big is your penis? Let's see it.
Bring it on.
Well, I promise I won't talk about that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you. I'm going to do a quick intro and outro after later on. So we're just going to. Okay. We're probably going to get into it with the penis joke, or maybe we'll just leave it there and I'll leave this in, and they'll be like, "What penis joke?" You'll never know. Well, thank you, Shahan, for being with me. It's I'm pretty excited about this.
Thank you. I am too. Thank you, Lee, so much for having me.
You're welcome. I'm mainly excited for all of the Jewish jokes that will come my way because this episode is all about cold, hard. Well, actually, it's not even hard anymore, and it's not cold because it's virtual currency.
That's right.
It's pretty crazy. I guess I would like to know a little bit. Obviously I don't think you're a historian, but I don't even remember the episode, but I remember on Rogan someone gave them a Bitcoin or like a version of it, and like they were asking people like you could donate Bitcoins to them, and it was like I want to say maybe early 2011, 2012, like soon after I met Joey. And I remember hearing about it, but I don't think I bought it. And obviously I didn't buy it. I'm 32 living with my parents. So if I bought it, I'd be pimping it up in Vegas right now. But when did this start?
Yeah. So I guess Bitcoin itself, started around 2008, 2009. The white paper was written.
Okay,
Bitcoin white paper.
So let me write that down because I want to keep going, but that's something I don't know what that means. So
okay. So white paper is essentially like if you were going to start a company, for example, you would lay out like what the company is about, like what problems. Yeah, business plan. But this is like kind of a different like class, this cryptocurrency with blockchain technology. And I can go into the details of that. Just know that those things aren't important. The blockchain word, the crypto word. I'll explain this at a simple level so that if you want to know those details, I could let you know, but it's not important for a non-technical person.
To steal a line from The Office, treat me like I'm 6, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Treat me like I'm 4 or 5. So I basically that is my level of knowledge. So the white paper. White paper. Okay, white pages is a phone book.
Yeah.
Oh my God, but kids don't even know what the white pages are anymore. Okay.
So in like an academic would write like a white paper, or a company would write a white paper over like a really technical thing. So like if you're going to have like a new VR product, like in virtual reality, you'll probably write some white paper of why like maybe this technology renders faster the screens or whatnot. And you show like your calculations and how you're going to go about it and all of those different things. So essentially somebody came up with the concept of like, hey, like we used to buy a Coke for 5 cents and now it costs, so much money. And clearly there's inflation going on right now in the US, and the US continues to keep printing money. So people are like, what is Bitcoin backed? I'll ask you this question, Lee. What is your cash dollar backed by?
It's supposed to be gold. I know that answer. So maybe I'm 8.
Used to be. Yeah.
I knew that it used to be based off gold, but now it's like the price of gold, but not even really. It's basically nothing.
Not even really anymore. We're no longer connected to that. And really, it's the U.S. military.
Wasn't there supposed to be like in what now I'm blanking on the place, but they're supposed to in the Treasury or whatever, there's supposed to be an equal amount of gold. The Federal Reserve, thank you. There's supposed to be an equal amount of gold for the money circulating.
I forgot what the ratio is, but you're exactly right. There used to be a certain amount of gold that you had to hold in reserves, to your point, but then they went away from that standard and the dollar got away. So like, for example, my parents are from Lebanon. Okay. Right. So here's an example of a country where the government is completely unstable and, people don't know what they're going to do with their life. They don't know where to store their wealth, because if they put it in this currency, the Lebanese currency, then it's going to go to zero because they keep just printing the money. So it's worth nothing. Kind of like the World War II days where you saw people with wheelbarrows full of cash. So that's happening at a much slower rate at the US, but at other countries who aren't as doing as well, they're printing up this currency to the point where the currency isn't going to be worth anything. So in Lebanon, for example, a lot of people are parking their value or their wealth in Bitcoin. And you can even say in comparison to the US dollar, we spoke last week, Lee, it's gone up like crazy since we spoke, right?
I know. I want to talk because we're recording this on Monday the 8th. So something did happen today, which we're going to get to.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much you know about Jews. You're Armenian, so you're basically Jewish.
Yes.
But we're a nervous people.
Yep.
And like part of what scares me about Bitcoin or any crypto is that it goes up and down. But I was just, as you were talking about this, I was like, the value of currency goes up and down. They just don't put it out there as much.
Right. Exactly.
So but is it okay? So we're recording this on January 8th, and I do want to get back. We're going to back up in a second. But what Shahan was just talking about was today it came out, and I guess Elon is like the king of cryptos because every time he tweets about one, it goes way up. But his company Tesla, I think I read this right, invested $1.5 billion just last month in Bitcoin, which means just, I guess, buying a lot of Bitcoin.
Yes.
Wow.
So essentially,
it's too bad he didn't do that 6 months ago when it was worth 3,000. He would have already tripled himself.
Yeah, maybe, but at the same time,
you never know.
Yeah, you're early because I think from the big players. So I pulled up something. I figured we'd talk about this, but I had the cash reserves up. Like Alphabet, like Google's company, has 117 billion, Facebook 60 billion, Amazon 49 billion in cash. Okay, so let's get the scenario down. Cash, there's going to be like at least $2 to $3 trillion printed this year, which is going to be more than we've ever printed ever in the US history. And so that's going to be printed this year. And if that's the case, what do you think is going to happen to the value of the dollar? So all of these companies, Apple, whatever, they just have cash on the sidelines. What do you think they're going to do with it if it's going to depreciate at that value, if all this cash is going to be printed? They want to go into the most scarce asset in the world, which is Bitcoin and or gold, silver, whatnot. But Bitcoin is this new currency native to the internet, which makes things so easy to pay through the internet, transfer, give it to other people in the countries. Yeah.
So let's back up for a second. So 2008, we kind of got away from the history.
Yes.
2008
the white paper.
They created a white paper, which is, so just to make sure I understand, it's basically the theory behind it. Like Bitcoins would say, this is Bitcoin. It's an all digital currency. And there's a finite amount, right, of all, like, but someone just makes it up. It's like it's obvious there could be a million of it, but I think kind of what we were just talking about, to prevent it from being worth nothing, they set a finite amount of Bitcoins, of any coin.
Yes.
Okay.
And
and that's why.
Yeah. So there's 21 million Bitcoin. All of the other cryptos, you can print infinite amount. Bitcoin's particular protocol is you have 21 million and it's a finite set and it's embedded as code in the law. The code is law. So it says 21 million. You can never add any more. Otherwise, it's not Bitcoin.
Okay. So I have further questions, but I want to keep going with the history.
Okay.
So this white paper comes out. I know it's like a unknown person.
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Wow, good pronunciation. But no one's really sure who that is, right?
No. So like people that were in it from so there was a group of people that were working in creating these digital currencies, these like cyberpunk type people. I don't know the names, but some of them are on the Bitcoin white paper listed, the actual names. You can see some of them, but they've listed it down to, they think of like 1 out of like 10 people. They think it could be because these were the types of people that had the skill set, some of the top people at the time. Nobody actually knows. Some people actually think it's a group of people. It's not one person. It's actually a group of people. But yeah, no one actually knows. I think there may be a few people in the world that have kind of deduced it down to who it is. I don't think anybody will know. But one thing to keep in mind is Satoshi Nakamoto actually has a few million coins himself, and they've never moved. They've never moved.
Hold on. So right now it's about let's just say $40,000 a coin.
Yes.
I know it's been up a little bit higher. How many do you think he has? 3 million of them?
He has a few million. Yeah. At least one, maybe 3 or 4. Yeah.
Okay. I've never been good. Let's just say it's 3 million.
Okay. And I'll fact check myself too.
It's 12 with, I can never know how much. Let me just count the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 1 million. 7 is 10 million. 8 is 100 million. 9 is a billion. He has $120 billion worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah, but if you think about it, there was a famous story about somebody that bought a pizza with 10,000 Bitcoin.
I know. I there's a few of those that oh my, that's almost worse than like the guy who sold Apple for $800.
Right.
Oh my god. Didn't he? I think he got like 2 pizzas. Oh my god. Oh, but see, okay, and that's something I want to talk about later too. So I have it all written down. So I want to sort of keep us on track. But like I said, I'm Jewish and I like money, so I get this is my like.
By the way, because you're Jewish, you say that, and I don't want to get myself canceled or anything. But like, if you don't trust people, actually, Bitcoin is made for you. It's trustless, and I'll explain why when we go through it.
Okay. $120 billion. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this white paper comes out. There's only one. It's Bitcoin. And then how do people start obtaining it?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So Bitcoin comes out, and the way to gain Bitcoin is like similar. So basically what they were trying to do is like, money is a good gold is a good form of money because it's scarce. It's hard to mine it. There's a few other, factors of what makes it good money. They tried to take all of those good components of gold and make them even better in a digital version of that. So they have scarcity to 21 million. And then there's difficulty in terms of mining the Bitcoin, right? So
that's the question I have. Yeah. I've heard of mining. I know it's some sort of computing, and you need computers to do it.
Yes.
But are they basically just kind of like trolling you, like making you mine? What are they making me mine for? I don't get it.
Yeah. So there's part of it is kind of like trolling and part of it isn't. So the reason why it's called blockchain, right? I'm going to be very loose with what I'm saying. So some of that's technical is going to be like, but it's not important. So let's talk about blockchain, what that is, and that'll make sense. Okay. So if Lee sends money to Shahan, then all of the computers in the world that are running like a Bitcoin network, part of the Bitcoin network, will say Lee is sending it to Shahan. Okay. Now, if over 51% of them or a majority of them say Lee sent it to Shahan, then you'll say, okay, then we create a block of data that Lee sent it to Shahan, that transaction, added to the other blocks of things that have happened in the network, like a big ledger, big spreadsheet. And then that's added to the blockchain. So that Lee sending it to Shahan in the history of Bitcoin will never change. Okay. So
a big Venmo
that are added. Yeah, go ahead.
Like it's like Venmo, where it's like someone sent this to this person. So that's what okay.
But it's historical all the way back. So like if, for example, you attach one day applications on top of blockchain, you attached your real estate deed to the blockchain, then I could see at a specific date, Lee owns this house. So like a good example of this is like if you're a country that gets taken over, let's say, and then you take back over the country and they're like, who owns this property? Actually, you can just look at the blockchain and say, look, there's a stamp on the ledger. It's immutable. You cannot change it. And it shows that's mine. That's Lee's house.
Okay.
So similar with your Bitcoin in terms of your wallet address or whatnot. So every new transaction that's added. So now Lee sends it to Joey Diaz, Bitcoin. Now all the computers said Lee. Now all the computers say Lee send it to Joey Diaz, but let's say somebody's like, let's be a bad actor and send it to Shahan. Let's say I'm the bad actor because I'm the Armenian, right? So I say, no, all of it goes to me. So I could do what's called a 51% attack, which essentially says, if I own 51% of the mining, I can say that, no, Lee didn't send it to Joey. Lee sent it to me. And I can take over the network.
So you're hacking it?
You can hack it if you have that much of a network. Now, what makes Bitcoin so safe is because there's so much computing power and it's so big of a network, it's almost impossible to hack.
So if I bought 1 million computers, like, would that be enough or no?
No, I mean, it would be nearly impossible to do it at this time.
Okay.
Because the people that are in it that have money will also know it's coming. So they'll like double up on their mining to know that it's coming. Yeah.
So I've seen pictures of it. Like I just saw one that I'd never seen before on Instagram. Like they were submerging the computers in some sort of oil or liquid to cool it down.
Yes. Because there's heating, right? So right. If you get it to the right temperature, you can mine more. And if it overheats, then the computers don't run as fast. And every like advantage you have on mining gives you more of a probability that you're going to earn the rewards. So going back to how the mining works. So right. Some of the computing power, very little of it is used for what I just described, validating the network. Lee sent the money to Shahan. So everyone that's running the mining rig it'll ping the network and it'll say Lee sent it to Shahan. So then everybody will say Lee sent to Shahan, Lee sent to Shahan, Lee sent. So when a majority do, then we add that transaction and the payment is sent through to me. Okay. And it's there permanently and you could see it on the ledger at any point. The other piece of it is what's called proof of work, which is essentially you have to do these complex algorithms that mean nothing, essentially, that require a lot of energy so that you can mine the Bitcoin. So it's validating the network as well as completing these complex algorithms that don't actually do anything, but just prove that you're using energy and you're using compute power. And so for that,
so it's
what's that?
So, yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
So I buy a computer.
Yes.
Is there a program that you install to do this?
Yes. Open source program.
And I say hit go.
Yep.
And then it just starts doing random math.
It starts running the machine. So like, the OBS studio you have,
yeah.
that's open source software. So right. Similar to that, you can download something for Bitcoin. The problem is that in Bitcoin specifically, why it would be more profitable to mine other cryptocurrencies is Bitcoin specifically, they have what's called Asic Miners, which are specific only for Bitcoin. They're not taking gaming computers and repurposing them. They're using it specific for Bitcoin. Those guys have big bucks. And to your point, they're dipping it in water. They're putting it in cooling systems. So a lay person that's just doing it on their laptop or a small computer, most likely you're not going to make any money mining. However, if you do some of the earlier ones before the big dogs come in, you may be able to do it profitably, put it on exchange, convert it to Bitcoin, and then convert it to cash.
Okay, so yeah,
we'll slow down. Let's take a step.
Wait a minute. Let me put some pimping in it. I forget that song. Okay. So the computer, do you have a recommendation for the open source software?
Don't mind Bitcoin, just buy it.
Okay.
You can't afford unless you have millions of dollars.
Just assume I had 100 million. Money is no object. I'm Shahan.
Yep.
I'm just teasing. But you're like, yeah, it is no object. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But okay. I say go, and it's not like I'm just imagining like literally like a mining, like you're hitting a cave, and then a Bitcoin is just there, but like you're saying you might not get it. So why
it's like here's the way to describe it, right? Forget mining. It's a bad word. Okay. If you play games in an app and you gain rewards, it's the exact same thing.
So, but even if I have a slow, I understand why the big guys would get more, but why don't I get a little bit? Like, why don't I get a little dribble?
You might, but if they have so much hashing power to get the Bitcoin, then it's just a probability game. It's like that the more hashing power you have, the more probability you have of gaining a reward, a Bitcoin
what
reward.
What does hash mean?
Hash is just like computing power. So if like you had like a bunch of servers, you would have a bunch of hash power.
So basically, is what you're saying is like let's imagine you and I were running a race.
Yes.
And there were water bottles at different stations, but you're a lot faster than me. So you get there to the station first and you drink the water. So I'll get there eventually, but then the water's gone.
Kind of, yeah. That's a good simple way of or like another way of thinking it is there's a bunch of if there's like a food line, let's say, and somebody has 100 spot. I'm thinking of a very simple.
It's like a buffet. So okay. So one question, part one. Yeah. 1A is what's the limit on Bitcoin? How many are there?
21 million.
How many are currently spoken for?
18 million. About 3 million will be mined in the next 100 to 200 years, I believe.
It doesn't take that long?
Yeah. It becomes harder and harder. In fact, the last Bitcoin mine will require all of the computing power in the world.
Whoa. So they're making it progressively harder. You're on like a level 1,000.
So every 4 years, so that's why the spike happens. So every 4 years, it's what's called the halving, which means if I had like, let's say X amount of hash power, let's call it 5 hash power. I'm just making up a number. And I would get 1 Bitcoin a day for that. By the way, that's totally off. I'm just making up that number. But in the next halving in 4 years, it's embedded in the code. I would get half that amount the next halving. So it'd be twice as difficult each 4 years to get mine each Bitcoin.
Okay, so because you see all these things and they have hundreds, or no, I don't know if it's hundreds. They have a lot of computers hooked up doing all at once. How many Bitcoin are they really get at this point? What are they getting?
It's kind of like finite. Here, I'll tell you how many it is. How many Bitcoin mining? I think it's like 4 or 8. What do they say? I'll have to look it up. Bitcoin mining today.
It's not that important. But
yeah, it's just a few. It's just a few Bitcoins per. Just trying to see if I could find it. If I don't find it quickly.
How many hash? Like, can you buy a computer that has 1 hash?
I wouldn't think of it. I just made up those numbers. So basically, what you do is there are machines that you can buy that run these things like Asic Miners. They're called Asic Miners. They're specifically for Bitcoin. So a gaming computer is made for VR, computing, Facebook, anything you want. Asic Miner is literally designed from head to toe only for Bitcoin mining specifically.
How much does it cost?
Some of them cost like anywhere from a few hundred, depending if it's used, or a few hundred to a few $1,000s.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay. So
the easiest way is just to buy.
And there's no way, like, because I just imagine downloading an open source software to do this mining that I'm going to get hacked. Are there fake ones out there?
No, not if you go to Bitcoin is so known that, like, of course there's so much fraud in crypto. So the answer is yes. However, finding good Bitcoin resources is not very difficult because it's the main player, right? It's very easy to find this kind of software.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and there's a couple funny things that I want to talk about. So you mine this Bitcoin, and I know it goes into a quote unquote wallet.
Yes.
And that can either be a physical USB,
or
like I have my wallet on Coinbase.
Yeah. You don't technically own your Coinbase on your Bitcoin on Coinbase. So let me give you the difference between Robinhood and Coinbase. So Robinhood, you could buy a one-to-one relation with the Bitcoin. You don't actually own the Bitcoin. On Coinbase, you're buying Bitcoin, the actual coin. However, you don't actually have it in your possession and sovereignty over it until you take it off the exchange.
Should I take it off?
Now here's the thing, right? So this is a question. If you're brand new to Bitcoin, I recommend just keeping it on Coinbase. It's the safest, easiest way to keep it on. When you start getting a lot or you want to gain access to it yourself, I would recommend buying a hardware wallet like a Ledger Nano S or a Trezor. Those are the two most popular ones. And you can hold that wallet. Now, if you lose that wallet or the key, you have lost your Bitcoin and no one in the world can ever recover it.
So there was a story recently of this guy in like somewhere, I think in Europe or the UK specifically, who threw away basically a thumb drive, and was offering, I think like 25% of it, which was something like a $70 million,
right,
the town to let him search for it in the dump. So, okay, so let me ask. So, explain what Coinbase is doing then? So, like, if can my stuff get hacked? Could they cut me off from it since I do have the key and I don't have it written down anywhere? I just have it on my coin. Should I write it down? Like, is this something I should?
You shouldn't have a key on Coinbase. You should have a password. There shouldn't be. The authenticator. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. So I would download the authenticator app.
I have an authenticator, but I think they gave me a key or something like the.
You might have a public address, maybe. On Coinbase, don't worry about the private key. You don't own access to your private key. It's only when you take it off Coinbase that you'll need to know that.
Okay.
So on Coinbase, they made it easy so that all that Coinbase really has is a deposit address and a withdrawal address. And remember, you can only send Bitcoin to Bitcoin. You can't send your Bitcoin to Ethereum. So you remember, when you're sending from currency to currency, you're going to do like for like. So you're sending your Bitcoin wallet, Bitcoins to your other Bitcoin wallet if you want to take it out. But if you, for example, on your desktop, you know how you can have like GarageBand? You can download to your desktop. So essentially, you would download a similar type of open source Bitcoin wallet to your desktop or that thumb drive, and then you'd gain sovereignty over those keys. Now, if you memorize the 12 words that are your passwords, you don't even need the key. You can travel all around the world, never need to hold it anywhere. You don't need anybody. And so long as you don't lose your memory, you could just go to any computer anywhere, put in your wallet, put in those keywords, and gain access to your Bitcoin. So no one can confiscate your Bitcoin. Now, if your Bitcoin is on Coinbase, and this explains why it's not actually, you don't own your Bitcoin, since it's a centralized service, somebody can technically shut down Coinbase and you never gain access to their funds because you don't actually own your keys. You just they owe you an IOU to one Bitcoin if you want to transfer it out. You don't technically own possession of it at that time. So that's the difference between having your own wallet and possession versus having it on Coinbase. And then Robinhood is one more remove, which is it's just tied to the Bitcoin price.
Good. Okay. So you mentioned Ethereum.
Yes.
That one I actually own 1.1 Ethereum. I don't want to flex on anybody, but I do have one Ethereum coin. I have just under 10% of a Bitcoin, and because I bought it maybe 4 or 5 years ago, 3 to 5, somewhere in there, and when it went up to 20 grand, I made like 2 grand on it, and I sold that. I sold a little bit of it, and then I kept some, and then I bought a little bit more, and when it was at 14,000 after a little bit of a drop, and then it immediately dropped to like $3,000 or like $5,000. Like it was stuck for a couple of years. It was stuck like really low. And I just kept it because I was like, I'm already down money. I might as well see what happens and keep it. And thankfully I did. But and I guess, I mean, if Elon, and I know a bunch of people are really high on it, but something that worries me is that I missed the boat, kind of like it's not really worth you to keep buying some. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, should you keep buying it?
So here's my thoughts around, right. I'm not a financial advisor, all that stuff, right. All the legal stuff, whatever. But do your own research, but
tell me what to do.
Yeah. So here's the way I would look at it. If you're not day trading, you don't have anything to worry about it. Okay. The dollar value, is it going up or down over time?
Hopefully up.
Down, because they're printing more, right?
Oh, the value of I thought you meant the dollar value.
The supply, you're right, but you're right. The supply is going up. The value is going down. I didn't ask a good question. But yeah, the supply is going up. The value is going down because it's like, if there's more of something, it's worth less, right? Mm-hmm. So with Ethereum, so Bitcoin is more like sound money. So like if you want to be sure of something, I don't think you're too late for Bitcoin. Keep in mind, all those companies I mentioned that have cash reserves, what do you think they're going to do after they look at Tesla and what they just did? Tesla's about to double their stock value because they just bought Bitcoin. So if they bought it, you front run the corporations when you're getting in. The best way to do it, if you're to do it, is dollar cost average in. So buy like anywhere, like, I don't know what your budget is, but I'm just going to give some simple numbers. 25, let's say $50 a week, or maybe $100 a month. But every month you buy it. If you see a big dip of 30% in Bitcoin in particular, if you want to be a little bit more risky in Ethereum, then buy double the amount you would normally buy. Every year, it has a higher low in terms of Bitcoin. So if you hold for more than a year, you're going to make profit. In fact, Bitcoin is doing so well right now that at any point in history, if you had bought and held, you would have made money.
Wow. Okay. Hold on. Oh, if I'd only bought it when it was.
You can buy it now, Lee.
I will. I'm gonna keep buying it. Okay. So I do want to get back to the one thing I didn't ask with the history. A big selling point that I keep hearing is that like it can't be tracked, this or that. Like
That's not true.
Okay.
That's not true.
Okay. Yeah. So my question then is like, why? I get the value of the dollar and money is being volatile, but like, why is that the only reason, I guess, that we need to have cryptocurrency? Is that because that goes up and down? Like, what? Like, why? Like, why do people like having like an open source? I don't get what the whole.
Okay, so let's give it to, like, U.S. We're a little bit spoiled, right? But let's go to Nigeria or Lebanon or Venezuela. If the government is corrupt and continues to print money and fattens their wallets, and let's say poor people are never able to make any living for themselves because their currency is devalued, you could see how storing their wealth in something like that lives outside of the government is like a savior to them in terms of what they could do with that wealth. Now, another thing is it's censorship resistant, which means that the government can't shut down Bitcoin. So if you have a corrupt government, again, they can't shut it down. If you know the password or you have ownership of your Bitcoin, that's the only way that you can gain access to that Bitcoin. So it's unconfiscatable. It's extremely scarce. It keeps the government and the Federal Reserve honest. If you keep printing this money and devaluing the currency, we're going to park our value in Bitcoin or gold. And the US's power is in its currency, right? The US dollar is very strong. So if they continue to do that, it keeps a check on all these power sources. And also, because it's scarce, it's going to be a great store of value. So what other asset can you put in into an asset? Like, let's say you put $1,000 into Bitcoin now and it turned into $1 million. You wouldn't have to pay any taxes until you converted it at $1 million. And if you waited over a year, all you would have to pay as capital gains, depending on 10 to 20%, depending on your tax bracket. But think about that. You don't have to pay taxes until you convert it. So you can gain all this value. The other really cool thing about Bitcoin, you could take out a 1% loan on your Bitcoin as collateral. So where else can you get a 1% loan? If you have zero credit, you have terrible credit. If you put your money in Bitcoin, you can use that as collateral instead of your credit score to take out loans, for example, at 1%.
Or where are you getting the loan
from Celsius Network. Celsius Network is a great one. So you transfer them, let's say from Coinbase, you buy the Bitcoin, you put it in there. And then there's even a calculator on their website. It's CELSIUS.network. I don't work for them or anything, but them, for example, you could take a 1% loan on your Bitcoin. Same company, other companies do this too, but you can gain a 5 to 6% interest on your Bitcoin on Celsius. And then if you don't like Bitcoin, there's a US dollar coin, which is a 1-to-1 to the US dollar. You can hold it in Celsius and right now they're running a rate of 16% interest on your dollar. So if you don't trust the volatility of Bitcoin, just convert it to a US dollar coin and then put it on Celsius and gain 16%. So there's a bunch of different options based upon your risk profile.
Okay.
So you don't gain that advantage, right, with other things. So that's why Bitcoin is great.
Okay. So many questions. So you mentioned if you're not trading, so a lot of people, it's like the stock market, I guess. It's like
yes,
they're selling, they sell it at what they think is a high, and then they buy at a low.
Yes.
So it like when people say, "Oh, I'm a millionaire," this and that, I know a lot of people keep their money in investments and that stuff. But is it? And I guess this course sort of is like what the Celsius thing you were just talking about, but since there's not a lot of things that you can purchase with Bitcoin right now, is there a way to like live? Because you have to have some money to pay for things. Like,
Yeah.
how do you take it out, or like, because then I'd be worried. Oh, what if it goes up by 20 grand and then I'm overpaying for like that? That's what scares me. So like, how do you survive on Bitcoin?
Yeah. So I have like cash money, the minimum amount that I have just to live. And then all my savings I put into Bitcoin. None of my money that I need, I put into Bitcoin. Only money that I put as like a 3 to 5 year investment. So I'm not going to touch that money for a long time. Now, let's say I need it and I'm worried it's going to get out and I don't want to cash it out. What you could do is you could take out that 1% loan. There's no tax event, by the way. You didn't sell it. You're just taking a loan out on it. So there's no tax event. Again, check with your tax professional. But you take out a loan at 1%. Now that can continue to go in value. And even if it goes up in value, you could pay off the loan with the earnings you had because you kept it there. So like in many ways, you get what I'm saying?
Okay. So when you say a 1% loan, so like, let's say I have one Bitcoin, right?
So let's say 100,000. You have $100,000 worth of Bitcoin. You take a 3-year loan out. You pay $3,000 at the end of the 3 years in interest.
And they give you cash.
They give you straight cash.
And it's just a regular loan where they tell you owe us this much money every month.
Every month, yeah. And you just have to pay the minimum. And the thing is, if you default on your loan, they take out the crypto that you had in collateral of what you owe left.
So so that was my next question. If no one has access to your wallet,
they do in that case. So if you're doing a loan, you have to put up your wallet in like a joint wallet, what's called like a joint wallet.
Okay.
So you put that. So in a loan case and in Celsius case, you do not own custodianship over it. It's similar to Coinbase. But the cool thing about keeping it there versus Coinbase, in Coinbase, you're just leaving it there. In Celsius, you're earning interest.
And I'm gonna have to look at Celsius.
Yeah.
Especially so the US dollar coin is just where the dollar is worth.
It's exact peg. Sometimes it's like where in 2017 there were some problems is sometimes there's like a small variation. And so what these like really supercomputer robots do is they try to do an arbitrage between the dollar and the coin. There's like a small gap and they try to make money in those like very small percentages. They're getting better at not doing that. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, it's the dollar. So you don't have to worry about volatility. And you're just gaining 16% or 13% on that compounding every week.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to have to look into that.
Now that's compounding at the annual rate every week, just to make it clear. That's APY, but compounding at the annual rate every week. So today, for example, I just got paid my reward from Celsius every Monday. It goes Friday to Friday, and every Monday you get the reward. They put it into your wallet automatically.
And what's the rate on Bitcoin?
So I think the rate at Bitcoin is for your first 4 Bitcoin, which if you're not buying more than one, don't worry about it, is 6.2%.
Okay.
So if you put you don't have to have 4 Bitcoin. If you put $100 worth of Bitcoin in there, you get 6.2% APY on that Bitcoin.
So let me just do this math real quick. So 1 Bitcoin is 40 grand. 5% of that is 2 grand. So every week you're making upwards of 2 grand.
No. Every week you would make 2 grand. So let's say it's 100 grand you made off 5, and let's just make round number. So 100 grand, you make 5% interest. Okay. So you get 5,000 for the year, and that's paid out weekly divided. So 53 or 50, how many weeks are in the year? 53, 52. So 52 divided by 5,000, but you're paid out weekly, so it can compound earlier.
Okay.
So whatever money comes in, that new amount is what's compounded for the next week, plus the new earnings.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Are you getting excited? I know it's overwhelming, but are you excited?
I'm also realizing how dumb I am. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do this.
No. I please don't do that, because it literally took me 1 year of doing this as my career to figure this out, just at a very simple level. And now I've been in a few years, and every day I'm learning. So the fact that you even know Ethereum, that you know Bitcoin, that now you know what Celsius network is, you are part of the 1% of people that know about this.
And so
the majority, yeah.
Okay. So I know. So I've heard of Ethereum. I bought $100 worth of Doge, and now it went way down, and I should have bought more of it when I went cut in half.
No, don't buy Doge. Don't buy Doge. Doge is a joke coin.
I know, but Elon keeps tweeting about it. I think I'm up like, I don't know, $50 or something so far.
Okay. Well, if you don't care about losing, it's just a pump and dump kind of coin. So just know that going in.
Okay. Yeah. So I know you're saying you do mostly or all Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's Ethereum and there's Litecoin and other, like, what are the coins that you feel like are actually worth watching?
So this is the way, startups, Lee. Do you know about like startups, like tech startups?
They exist. What do you?
Yeah, they still. So tech startups. The thing about tech startups is they're very highly risky.
Right.
So that's why they're not put on the stock exchange yet. You have to get venture capital or angel investors to get whatever. So I think of them as 2 different ways, right? I don't even like comparing the coins, because I view as Bitcoin as something that's established in the world. It's actually a top 10 world currency. And I view as everything else as an early stage startup. So you have to have that lens when you're investing of saying Bitcoin is most likely going to be around in the future. And these things are like 1% to 2% bets. So I would say, like, when you're thinking about a risk profile of an investor, Bitcoin is now institutions are backing it. There's all these huge companies like Tesla getting into it. They're not getting into the other coins, right? So meaning the liquidity, the movement, like, how much work is going behind this, it's all trending in that direction. The other coins, there are promising projects like Ethereum, right? It's a great project. But those are very highly risky projects. So I don't like talking about those projects. What I recommend you do with those projects is try to figure out a way to earn them rather than buy them. So for example, look at what coins are profitable to mine now or something. And so versus buying and speculating on those things and losing a lot of money, if you earn them by mining them, or there's a lot of things which will be like, there'll be like these, what are they called? Bounties that a lot of these coins will put out and say, hey, if you help us with our logo, or hey, if you help us with our podcast, or hey, if you help us with XYZ, the community will gift you these amount of tokens. So with those high risk ones, so you don't lose a lot of money, but you can still dabble and experiment with them. That's a way that I think that you could get in, and instead of going out to eat, you're like, screw it, I'll do one of these risky stocks. And, instead of going out for $25, buy one of these other currencies. With that being said, Bitcoin is still the best bet, and there's a lot of upwards momentum and growth.
So let me ask you, and I obviously I know that you're not a financial advisor.
Yeah.
Let's just say, whoop, you're Lee. I'm sorry. I would much rather be Shahan than Lee, but let's just.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, I'll trade. I have 1.1 Ethereum, and I think it's worth like $1,500-$1,600 right now, something like that.
Yep.
Would you, at this moment, sell that and buy $1,600 worth of Bitcoin?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay. If you were to do that, that's a good question. I think that I'm just getting the sense that you want to be involved in a few different currencies.
What I want is one of them to explode to $40,000 a coin, and
it won't.
It won't. Like Shahan. What do you mean? What, you don't think? Why are you saying no? Why are you stepping on my dreams?
Because it can't with some of the numbers. So, for example, Dogecoin. If you look at the supply, I'll look at the supply of Dogecoin, for example. You're saying, so this is a common misconception of crypto, and is actually a good point of why not to get into alts for that reason. You're like, I want to get into Dogecoin, which is, by the way, 8 cents right now. I want to get into Dogecoin.
I bought it at 5.5, so I'm doing
hell yeah. There are 128 billion Dogecoin. There are 21 million Bitcoin. There isn't enough wealth in the world for that to even be humanly possible. And that's what's called unit bias. You couldn't have $40,000 of that many units of things. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So if you look at the supply of the coins, which if you go to coinmarketcap.com, you can look at the supply and you'll say, oh, the reason why Bitcoin is worth so much more is because it's way more scarce than the other ones and it has a set supply. Versus the other ones, you can have like Ripple has you can have like trillions of tokens. So how could that possibly have $43,000 worth of token? It's the same as the US dollar. If you can print an infinite supply and whatnot, it couldn't possibly be that much money.
So what is a dollar worth now? What is the dollar worth?
The dollar's worth $1 always. $1 is worth $1, but $1 is worth, let's say, whatever in Bitcoin. It's just a denomination of what it's.
So when you buy. So because I was thinking about that dollar coin, the USD coin.
It's always $1. So the way the tech works is it whatever the way the dollar moves, it moves that way.
Right. Let me just put it this way. With Bitcoin, the hope is I'll buy low. I'll buy it now when it's worth 40,000, and I'll sell it when it hits 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
If I buy $100 worth of Bitcoin and then it goes up, it'll turn into $200 if it doubles. But with the US dollar, if I bought 100 of the dollars of the US dollar coin, there's always only going to be $100 in there.
Yes, and then if you put it in that interest thing, you gain the interest. But no, it stays at $1 no matter what.
And
it doesn't go up in value at all.
Oh, okay. So I think
it doesn't go down in value. Well, it goes down in value from an inflation perspective, but it's whatever the dollar is at that time. It's just $1. No matter what, it's $1. So if the dollar is doing well, it's doing bad, it's always $1. This is always $1. So think of it as a digital version of the dollar.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's the same way as if you send somebody Bank of America money, you're sending it digitally. That's the same concept.
Mm-hmm.
So it's PayPal, same concept. The US dollar coin is doing the exact same thing as that.
Okay. So here is essentially my big question. And I already know before I ask it, it's up to you and you just have to take a guess and whatever. My big worry, even when I go back and say, oh, I wish that I had bought Bitcoin at X, I don't think I'm the type of person who would get way too nervous that it's going to crash and burn again. So how do a lot of the people doing it decide when is a good time to sell finally?
So most people in the community, you might have seen this. They say HODL. It says HODL on their shirts.
No.
That means hold, and it was spelled wrong once in the whole Bitcoin community. But most Bitcoin people hold their money forever in Bitcoin. They never sell.
And they do these 1% loans a lot. Like how do
they do 1% loans? They gain interest, and or they'll take like a very small percentage out just to live on, or they'll just never touch it in any way. But yeah, you don't touch it, and then keep in mind, right? So let's play that scenario a little bit, right? If you bought in, I think it was 2017, or if it was not 2018, I forget, but it went up to 19K, right? So
right.
On that same year, it was like 1000K, right? So now the people that bought on 19K are thought of as geniuses now, but 2 years ago, they were thought of as fools.
Right.
So my point is that with Bitcoin, the key is the short-term volatility is insane. And it's like, it'll make your blood boil and your heart stop.
I know. I bought it at 14,000 and immediately went to 3, and I thought I was going to jump off a bridge.
Right. But if you think about it as this is money I don't care about, only that money.
I don't have any money that I don't care about.
Like you do, because like if you don't buy, like, let's say fast food or this extra drink,
right? Yeah,
it's a few dollars here and there, like $5, $10, you know, like those kind of things. Everyone has savings. I don't care who you are. We could do another episode on that, but you can find it somewhere. But if you do that and you keep it there, you need to find somewhere to park money that it goes up in value. You could say, I don't have money, but if you have that mentality, you're never going to be able to build up wealth. And that's the key, right? You want something to be able to park in, forget about it, check it back in 3 to 5 years, and have this like stash of wealth that you have with you. And maybe it's like, it's $3 every week. It's $5 every week. Just have some amount. If it's going double or triple, that's $15 every week or $20 every week, right? That it's going to be compounding into, right? And if you hold it for multiple years, you see what's happened to Bitcoin over years. So yes, it goes from 19K to 3K, but what happened if you waited another year?
When now it's up to 40.
Right. So you have to play the long game. So the key with investments and building wealth is holding things for a very long time.
Got it. Okay. So, I mean, I guess what you're basically saying is you don't recommend Bitcoin is kind of like your side hustle. Like you're not living off of Bitcoin. You're keeping it and buying other ones and maybe doing the loans. But so like, do you have an end game? Like, do you ever imagine like you're 60 and then you do sell all of them?
I wouldn't see so right now I'm at a level where I could pay myself a salary with the interest. So in that case, I don't even want to. And then the other thing with me is, which I've been thinking about, something for you all to think about as well, is if you could take a 1% loan, you can't take that anywhere else. I was thinking about, well, if this gets more, what I'm going to try to do is figure out some houses that are good in remote areas like Lake Arrowhead, Big Bear, those kind of things. Buy an old cabin. And because people want these nice remote areas, take a cash loan out at 1%, make the renovations, flip it, pay back the loan, and make the money, and at zero cost.
Okay.
So you flip it fast enough so that you don't have to pay the loan back. You get what I'm saying? So you could start doing some really interesting things. Now, if I want to make a big purchase or something like that, then yeah, I would use that Bitcoin, and maybe I want to, diversify a little bit as it gets really big. I have a lot of Bitcoin, so maybe I want to sell maybe just 1 or 2 of them. And I'll use that to, do something, maybe buy a car or buy my wife a gift or something.
Okay.
Then I'll do it in that case.
Okay. So obviously there's a little bit of privacy here. Can you tell me how long ago you bought your Bitcoin?
Yeah, I bought my Bitcoin. I got in, I learned about it end of 2000. I got in about end of 2016, like January of 2017.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable giving me a range of how many rounds you might have, or is that a little too private?
I won't tell you how much I have, but I'll tell you I've added a comma to my net worth recently.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I just? Are you sure you don't want to trade? I'll let you be.
No. So the thing, this is what I would do, right, Lee? If you were serious about this, what I would sit down with you in is I would say, I want you to tell me what you spend your money on. And I would tell you, you tell me, oh, I don't have the money. I would find you $500. And you say, no way, you could 500. I'd be like, I'll find you $500. And then we put a plan together so that in like 5 years, 10 years from now, you'll be very well positioned financially.
So you were talking about going back to the Celsius and the interest.
Yes.
Are you getting the interest paid in Bitcoin or in cash?
Right now, the laws might change in the future, but the law in the US, if you live in Canada, actually you can gain anything you want in it. But the laws are now, it has to be like for like. So if you hold USD coin, you can only earn USD coin. If you hold Bitcoin, you can only earn Bitcoin. In the future, you'll be able to earn another currency or a bag of multiple currencies.
So how you said you were living off of your interest? How does that?
I have multiple streams of income, so I live off. Yeah, go ahead.
You're not living off of the Bitcoin. You could.
I can technically, but I don't. I have I have a business called Startup Assistant where I consult early stage startups. So I gain a retainer every month plus equity in those companies. My wife has a cheese shop. I have this other thing called Pocket Token, and I'm going to be running essentially the mining for that. And so that also makes me money per month. So I have multiple streams, and then the podcast, I hopefully through your help, Lee, I'll be able to monetize that as well. But yeah, I'm trying to set up multiple streams of revenue for myself, and then I live very cheap. I don't spend any money on luxury. I have a 2005 Explorer. I can buy a very nice car, but I don't spend any money. I put it all back into savings, all back into investing so that I can make more money on my money. And then at a certain point, I'll buy that nice thing that I want, but I don't need nice things. I'd rather just set myself up so that, I can live freely the rest of my life, if that makes sense.
That's very smart. Oh my God. I'm so jealous right now. Okay.
You can get there, Lee.
So why don't you tell everyone about your podcast now?
Yeah.
Well, while I recover my brain power.
We can come back for another one too. My podcast is called On with Shahan Podcast. And I have on a variety of guests. So I started off as like a Bitcoin cryptocurrency. So I had like John McAfee, Max Kaiser, Jimmy Song. Then I got comedians on like Jeremiah Watkins was on. I am going to have Steve Simeone hopefully in the future. Lee, I would love to have you on my podcast.
Oh, not Simeone.
Simone?
That's how Siri pronounces his name.
Simone, yeah. So Steve Simone. Sorry, Steve, if you're listening. And then I also have entrepreneurs, venture capitalists on the podcast where we talk about a bunch of stuff like this for people who are much smarter than I am.
Oh my God. Okay. I money. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So let me see if I had any more. I'm just blown away by all this.
There's one more thing I want to cover around trust when you said you didn't trust somebody and why Bitcoin is trustless. So here, let me give you an example. So Lee, let's say that you and I were going to do a deal, and I said, send me money first. And then, or you didn't trust that I was going to send you the money at all. With Bitcoin, if I say I'm going to send you money, you can, and I say I did, you don't have to trust me. It's trustless. What you could basically say is you have a wallet address. I have a wallet address. You say, Shahan, send me the money here. And I say, I sent it. You don't have to trust me. You can go on what's called the Block Explorer. It's a public ledger. You can go online and you can look up your address and you can see that his address or her address sent money to this address and it's online. And you could say verifiably with 100% accuracy that that person has sent you the money and you never have to trust that person. You could just look on the public ledger. So that's why they call it trustless. I don't have to trust that person. If they say they sent it, I could check immediately whether or not they sent it. So it's like a big spreadsheet that you look at, that anybody can look at, that's live all the time. And you can check to see if that person has spent you. What Ethereum does that's interesting in a smart contract is like, let's say you had a decentralized Uber. So like if you drive, for example, and you get to the spot, the computer would automatically hit a smart contract, which would say, when this person hits this location, then automatically pay the driver. So that's what the layer 2, like Ethereum type protocol does, is it's not just sending from one person to another. You can input some intelligence into it. If this, then that, like computers.
Okay. That was a lot of information over a very short period of time, and I think I for one need a nap.
Thank you,
So the
Lee.
last question I have is like I had like a toddler's understanding of it. Let's say someone I am assuming everyone who listened and watched has at least heard of Bitcoin. But let's say I've never purchased it. This was my first real knowledge about it. Is there a resource or a site that you recommend going to find out more?
Yes. So the best resource is either the On with Shahan podcast or somebody that says it very simply is Anthony Pompliano, and it's called the Pomp Podcast. He was recently on the Bill and Bert podcast, Bill Burr and the Bertcast.
Right.
Anthony Pompliano, he talked about Bitcoin. At the end of it, Bill Burr's like, "I'm buying Bitcoin." And so he yells at, so he completely convinces them, and he talks to a bunch of other people about Bitcoin. So he speaks it at a very like business level, doesn't talk about the technical stuff or any of that. So he's a very simple person to listen to and to hear about Bitcoin and learn it very simply, because I know it is a lot. And don't feel overwhelmed. Once you put in like $5, even $20 on it, and you start watching it, it'll be fun. And then you'll start watching the news and the updates, and slowly you'll learn more. Don't worry about learning it all in a day.
Got it. Okay. God. So you're saying I was off by like a year. If
I was saying that you're not even close to being on. I'm saying that you're
but
not even.
I just meant like because I think it sounds like you got into it like a year before me. So if I had purchased like, God.
But also if you had held.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know how it hold.
Right. So that's the key. Even if you got in a little late, if you held, that's how you cure all sins. Right. So if you hold for a long period of time, time is always your friend. Okay. So if you hold it, then people are going to want more and more. And keep in mind, there's only 21 million. There's 43 million millionaires in the world, or 30 or 40 millionaires in the world. They can't all have one. The corporations are buying tens of thousands of them. So if you just have a piece of a Bitcoin, you're already part of a very small group of people.
Okay. So I have two questions. The final question. So we were just saying how Elon and Tesla bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. And I know that now there's a NFL player getting paid half in Bitcoin, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But you were saying it's finite. Where are people buying it from?
They buy it from Coinbase. So there's always sellers, right? There's always sellers. So like if I buy it, you're selling
Bitcoins.
No, there are multiple exchanges: Coinbase, Binance, Celsius. You can buy it there. BlockFi. There's a bunch of exchanges where you can buy Bitcoin. And on these Bitcoins, they have Bitcoin supply that you can buy the Bitcoin from.
So for someone like Tesla, so let me just do that math. Let me just put that in there. So
you just divide 1.5 billion by, I think they bought them for like 33,000 each.
Okay, so they already made a bunch of money off of it.
Yeah, they made a shit ton of money already.
So how many zeros is 1.5? How many zeros are we talking about?
So it's 1 and then 500 and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
500 and then 6 more. So 1500.
It's like 1, 5, 0, 0, then 0, 0, 0, then 0, 0, 0. And then divide that by, 33,000, I think was roughly the average they bought it for last week.
Okay.
And that should tell you how many Bitcoin they bought.
Okay, it's 454, 54,000, 454,000. No, 45,454.
Yeah, that sounds right. How many Bitcoin did Tesla buy? Let's see how many they bought exactly. Yeah, it doesn't say here. It says how much they bought.
Yeah, it's 45,000 roughly.
Yeah, 45,000 sounds right. Yeah.
Wow. So, but they could. Does Coinbase have enough to sell them that, or
no? So yeah, that's a great question. There's something called OTC, which is called over the counter. So big corporations like this don't buy it off exchanges because you might spook the exchange if you buy this much or you sell this much. So you go off exchange and you buy like from people like Gemini, for example, or even Coinbase has a custody or institution solution that's not on the solution, that's just for businesses, where you buy big bulk amounts of it. So they have specific products for that.
Did Coinbase and Binance just get in right at the beginning and they all bought like 1 million of Bitcoin each? And now they're
think of them more, they had some Bitcoin, but think of them more as the factory that, think of them more as the exchange than holding a lot. Yeah, they hold a lot, of course, but they make money more on you buying. They like, if you buy it, there's a transaction fee. If you take it out, there's a fee. Yeah.
I'm wondering where, like, who are you buying it from? That's what
you're buying it from Coinbase. Yeah, but Coinbase is an exchange where people come there to sell and people come there to buy all the time. So they just congregate all of that together. Plus they have some of their own supply. So they just congregate that all that together. So there's always buyers and there's always sellers, and Coinbase is
so I'm technically probably buying from someone who just sold it.
Yeah, exactly. And then Coinbase has their own supply as well. Yeah, it's a variety of all of that, but it's essentially, just think of it as there are people selling it and there are people that want it, and Coinbase is the place that you can go to do that.
Okay. Is there a fee? I know when you said you sell it, there's a fee. Is there a fee for me to transfer from like a Coinbase to a Celsius?
So there's a secret hack. If you do it from Coinbase to Celsius, there's a big fee, but the hack to do it for free is Coinbase has another product called Coinbase Pro, which is their trading product. And if you have a Coinbase account, you automatically have a Coinbase Pro account. Okay. And you can do unlimited for free deposits into your Coinbase Pro. So what you do is you take your Coinbase money, you deposit into Coinbase Pro. It's very easy once you set up the Coinbase Pro. You just say, bring it from the Coinbase. You bring it there for free, and every withdrawal out of Coinbase Pro is free. That's the secret. But if you withdraw from Coinbase, it costs a lot of money.
So I transfer to Coinbase Pro, and then I transfer from Coinbase Pro to
your Celsius wallet.
Okay, we'll talk about that off air because I have a lot of questions. I'll need you to.
Was this helpful at least, Lee? I hope it wasn't too overwhelming.
It is, but it's like every door I open, it's like, haha, here's another door.
Yeah, right. It's fun though. If you learn more, the more you buy, the more you want to learn too. Yeah.
So here's my final question is ownership. So like, let's say like you I know you have a wife. Do you have any kids?
I hope to in a year.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a wife. Yeah.
So let's say you have a little son named Lee Jr.
Okay. I hope that sounds kind of weird. Are you working?
No, you just love me so much, and you give me.
Yeah, I do love it. Yes.
And you give me 10 Bitcoin as a little treat.
Lee Syatt Khoshafian. Yeah.
Sure. Yep. Exactly. And then after a long and healthy and successful life, you're 200 years old, and you are about to pass away. Can Bitcoin be transferred in a will?
Yes, it can. Now, here's where it becomes tricky. If you hid that hardware wallet underneath your tree and no one knows that, no one's going to find it, and you lost the Bitcoin.
Right.
So now if it's on Coinbase and it's like connected to your name and you technically don't even own the Bitcoin, you just are owed a Bitcoin by them. If you take it out, then they give it to you at that time. But yeah, it would carry through the will and all that. The tricky part becomes when you have private keys or you own your own custody over it and no one in the world can gain access to it. And that's really the point of it too. And that's where it becomes tricky is with key management. If you're getting to an old age or something, I recommend putting it on like a Coinbase or something so that it could be easily transferred over if the person you're going to give it to doesn't know key management or where that is or all that stuff, right? That's a serious problem. That's a really good question because people have lost a huge fortunes because of that very reason of not transferring it the right way and getting hit by a car or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm paranoid now. Thank you very much. And the podcast again is On with Shahan. It's SHAHAN.
Yes.
Awesome. On with Shahan. And what's the name of the cheese shop if you're in the LA area? I heard
it's called the LC Cheese Shop, the La Cañada Cheese Shop. And if you're in the area, thanks for that plug too, Lee.
I own. Just give me a Bitcoin. That's where the plug for the cheese shop, right? 1 Bitcoin.
Yes.
Oh my
Exactly.
God. Well, thank you very much for coming on. I'm sure once my brain restarts, I'll have you back on in the future, and we'll go back over it. But this was very informative, and I can't wait to start making more money so I can put a bunch into Bitcoin.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lee. I really, really appreciate you having me on.
Welcome back to the present time. Thank you very much, Shahan. Again, of On with Shahan. You can listen to him, to that podcast, everywhere you find your podcast. And let me spell it for my audio listeners, and I guess the video listeners too. It's S as in Sam, HAHAN. On with Shahan. Very informative. I feel like now instead of being a giant 4th grader, I'm a giant 7th grader. And maybe someday I'll have my first giant kiss. Hey, speaking of first kisses, I will not be having one with the girl on Tinder. So I believe what I had said the last time we spoke. Oh, she unmatched me. I believe where we left off was that we were talking, and she didn't respond to my question my request for her phone number. So what I did was I sent her the GIF of Homer going into the trees, the bush, and she actually responded to that. And if that's a repeat, I'm sorry. But my memory is no longer existent. So, but the update is we were talking. I'm picturing a spring wedding. I wish I was lying. Not a wedding, but I tend, if I think a girl likes me, I get excited. But then if I know for a fact a girl likes me, I'm like, I started looking on Zillow. I'm like, I wonder if I could move down to Florida. I wish that wasn't true. But we were talking, and my clever, charming self, made a Jewish joke about just the fact that I am Jewish. I think again, I should. There's a reason why some people I bet a lot of girls hit you up from on in social media and send you nudes. No, they don't. But I think she took a long time to respond, or I thought she was mad at me for something, and I made a silly joke that, oh, you can't do that to a neurotic Jew, and it wasn't my neuroticism that scared her away. It was my Judaism that scared her away. This is a first in the history of Lee's dating fails. Again, she was not anti-Semitic. That'd be hysterical. She was like, I don't date no Jew. I don't know why she had that accent, but I feel like anyone who would not date someone because they're Jewish out of hate might have that accent. Who knows? Maybe I'm assuming who hates Jews. She does not hate Jews, but what she does is love Jesus. She's a big Jesus. She's a fan of Jesus. If Jesus had social media, she would be one of his followers, and then every time he made a post, she would go first in the comments. And she basically said that despite the fact that I am outrageously charming, adorable, and hung like a horse, that she, I think the wording she used is she wanted to date someone who would teach her future children what it's like to be a man of God. And I did look up how much it would cost and how much time it would take to become Christian. And I also called my mother to see if she'd be okay with that, and she was not okay with it. And frankly, it took a lot longer than I am willing to spend on that. So, unfortunately, Tinder Girl and I are no longer speaking. It is weird, though. There's something about girls who I guess are nice. Maybe not. It's like, she was like, can we still be friends? And I was like, no. Am I wrong there? I don't know. I mean, I'm not friends with any of my exes. Before my most recent ex had a boyfriend, we kind of did stay in touch, but I get it. I do. It is weird, that, and I'm sure she'll listen to this and get mad at me, but it doesn't matter. I did have a girl hit me up on Instagram over the last couple days who I literally went on one date with a decade ago. So your boy still got it. No, she has a boyfriend, but she apparently still follows me on social media. Hi. And wanted to know if I would bring her up in the dating episode, and I did not, because we went on one date, and it was right when I moved to LA, and I was like 22, and she was 19, a little young, but for a 22-year-old, it's not that big of a deal. Stop judging me; it's legal. But it's the reason why I have a rule that I will no longer date someone who does homework. It wasn't really the homework that got in the way. It was that she lived with her parents, and they were strict and would not allow her to leave the house, I guess. No, well, she wasn't a captive, but and I don't know where I'm supposed to be looking. I can't. I find it awkward to look into the computer that is recording me. So I'm looking around like Ray Charles. But yeah, that was the update on my very sad love life. I think that's the only what I would really like to have happen is I would enjoy if the pandemic went away for about 2 months, but in like 4 months. But then they were like, hey, you should stay in the house a little. Because I don't mind being in the house, but I would like to be in the house with someone I'm not currently related to. I'm a little bit, I'm over being single. I'll put it that way. It's been a long time, and I'm ready to disappoint another female romantically. But yeah, that's it. That's, again, thank you to Shahan. I'm doing great down here in Florida. It looks like I actually might be getting the vaccine because I've been helping my dad with his Meals on Wheels deliveries, and because of that, they said, would you like the vaccine? And I have my dad and my mom and my Aunt Ida to worry about, so I said sure. So I'm waiting to hear about that, but you have to spend a month in between vaccinations, so I might be staying in Florida for an extra month, and trust me, with the snow that my Northeast friends are getting right now, I do not feel too bad about that. So, without further ado, I'm going to end this episode. Again, follow me on social media, Syatt, Leess as in Sam, Yatt, and check my link tree for information on my Patreon, my podcast consulting. I'll have a link to the YouTube up by the time you hear this or see this. And that's it. I do want to say, and I don't think this is a repeat, but I apologize if it is. I've been getting a lot of messages after people listen to Joey's episode where he talked about my recent decision to take comments off of Instagram, and I'm probably not going to have them on YouTube either. I've gotten hate for my entire time on the podcast with Joey, the church, and I mean, frankly, again, it wasn't virtual and it wasn't hundreds of them, but I also wasn't the most popular kid in school. No one said that they wished I'd get my brain blown into the Atlantic, but still not that nice. But hey, I am straying from the point here. What I'm trying to say is I got used to that, and I know that a lot of times a lot of people use hate as a way to get attention and this and that. I appreciate everything Joey said, but I just want to clear up that the reason I had been thinking about turning comments off for actually a while, and the reason behind that is it would just take up too much of my brain space, good or bad. Like, I find myself refreshing comments and getting excited at the good ones and wanting to cry my tears into a Haagen-Dazs container on the bad ones. And something I learned from Joey, which I think is a good lesson for any creator, because I'm not an artist. When we first started the church, we were doing it on a video site called Stickcam, and it had a live chat, and I, being new to it, would read the chat and keep an eye on it, and even ask Joey questions. And you can hear in the early episodes that sometimes Joey would snap at me, and it was because it's kind of hard to have a conversation with somebody who's not looking at you. And what he said to me one day, he said, if you give people what they want, they're going to get bored. And so we're going to give them what we want, and the people who like it will stay, and the people who don't will leave. And so that is why I decided to take comments off. If you want to send me a message, great. I love interacting with people on Twitter. It's still there because for whatever reason, the people I have on Twitter are very nice, mostly, or I do mute you or block you if you're mean. And then on Patreon, I answer every message. But what I was too invested in the comments on Instagram, and what I am trying to do, what I want to do, is just post what I like and what I'm interested in, and I hope you are too. And if you are, great. And if it's not your cup of Diet Coke, I was going to say tea, but who likes tea? It's Diet Coke. If it's not your cup of Diet Coke or whatever beverage you prefer, I'm very sorry, and I hope we can still be friends. But you can't. There's no comments on TV shows, on movies, and I wanted to, go a little bit of that route to just focus on my work, and there's other ways for us to stay in touch other than comments. So that's it. I'm doing great. I am down 42 pounds. We will find out tomorrow. Hopefully I'm closer to 45 by tomorrow. And this whole thing is a process. Life is a process. Podcasting, content, fucking just living. Living is a tiring, annoying process. Oh, if anyone has an accountant, I need a new one. I don't think this was going on. Was it going on? No, I don't believe so. I'll give you just one quick annoying story just to show. Who I did my taxes with last year, messed up. They didn't fill in the form all the way, so I got a notice, and thank God, knock on wood, not getting audited, but I had to refill it out or finish filling it out, and it took me literally 4 days, and I had to call my accountant's boss like I'm tattling. It gave me anxiety to do that, but now she hasn't called me back, so it really is amazing that if you put in the littlest amount of effort, you are miles ahead of most people. It's just astonishing that A, that people have jobs, and B, that for a lot of us it's hard to get jobs. I know a lot of you are probably struggling. Hopefully not, but I'm sure there's a couple of you out there who don't have jobs right now. And don't give up hope. Someone is going to mess up and get fired, and someone will choose you, and they will be happier than a pig in shit that they chose you, and the slackers it's just so annoying. It wasn't. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. What's that song? Everyone makes mistakes. But for someone who gets nervous about things, to not be able to get in touch with your accountant when you have a notice from the IRS for 4 days, there's a reason why I'm bald. So that's just to illustrate that life is hard. But if I learned anything, buy Bitcoin, and hopefully we'll be rich enough to get out of this stupid rat race. Follow me on social media. Tell a friend about this podcast. And stay safe, everybody. That's all. I genuinely appreciate you listening. I genuinely love all of you. I'm trying to build, and I need to, if you can come up with a word that is opposite of safe space, because that term makes my butthole get cold. I don't want a safe space. I just want a nice space. Maybe it's that. I'm trying to create a family, a group, whatever you want to call it, of nice people. That's what I'm trying to create. And yeah, I feel like we're on the way there. So thank you very much. Shabbat Shalom, even though it's not Shabbat. And welcome to the video world. What was I thinking? I love you, and I will talk to you soon.